Welcome, Jesters. I kind of, blithely commented the other day that too many people are focused on too many single issues, and it gets in the way of a lot. Like, everybody seems to have their own little, pet project that, they think is the absolute most important thing in the world. I guess this is the idle hands make the devil's work, and a result of the incredible luxury that we live in, not just here in the United States, but in the West in general, that people can focus on these very often trivial things, right? And, if you look at what dominates, the cultural and political, debate, it's all these just little things that people just will not stop carrying on about, right? Today we have to deal with, healthcare, right? The healthcare issue just keeps coming up, coverage mandates, universal healthcare, how are we going to pay for healthcare? Which healthcare system is the best? Privacy, and all this kind of stuff. And it's something that just never ends, right? The trans issue, right? Access to bathrooms, access to minors, what to do about it in schools, what a sex marker to put on IDs. Again, it just never ends. People keep bringing it up and carrying on. Israel, are you totally 100% pro-Israel, or are you totally 100% against Israel? Ukraine, right? To a little bit lesser extent, but are you totally 100% for Ukraine, or are you totally 100% against Ukraine, right? That's not going to end until one side just wins, which is what we're doing in Iran, by the way, right? And then, workers' rights, right? Something that, our friends on the left have been carrying on about forever, right? Unions, the right to organize, the right to form a union, the right to not be in a union, the requirement to pay dues, the right to keep your money, things like, minimum wages, all over the place, like minimum, maximum hours, what constitutes part-time, what constitutes full-time, what constitutes an employee, what constitutes a gig, what constitutes of being a contractor, and all these kinds of things, right? It's just this endless series of advocacy. And the environment, right? The environment. Right now, people are all on about the 0.1% of U.S. forest that is logged in any given year. Yes, that's it. 0.1%. That's it. That's all that's logged. All right. And then the constant environmental reviews and lawsuits and debate and discussion over what is very often land that is already ruined, right? I read about the environmental process that it took to get the electrification of the rail line, the Caltrans rail line between San Jose and San Francisco done. The electrification, it's a rail line. It's already a rail line, right? But how long did the environmental review take on this? It's crazy. The environmental review should be one page. Electricity is better than diesel. That's it. Done. But no. This is people's life's work. This kind of, environmental advocacy is crazy. And in education too, right? Student loans, student loans. Okay. Well, what school lunch? Who should provide a school lunch? What should be in the school lunch? What the students should be fed? Is it nutritious? Is it not nutritious? What is the best nutrition? What is the stupid pyramid or circle or oval or tetrahedron, whatever it is today, right? And then of course, there's always the trans issue in schools. What are teachers allowed to talk about? What flags are they allowed to display, right? And then living standards. Yes, people are constantly advocating about living standards, and the fake poverty line, which it's totally made up, and it's the same across the country, right? Which our friends on the left seem to be only using these days to bash Mississippi, which is still doing better than Canada, I just have to add, right? And what business is it of theirs if someone wants to live in a trailer park? None. So stop it. But here's the thing. All of these things, right? They might have an importance to people, but they are only a problem because everybody expects the government to do something about everyone. I don't think the government really has anything to do with any of these things. The government really shouldn't be addressing any of these things. Okay, maybe Israel because, it's a foreign country, right? And that's in the Constitution. But all these other things, right? Healthcare, workers' rights, education, living standards. What does the government have to do with any of this stuff? Right? Maybe some very, very basic and fundamental things, like people should get paid. If you have an employment agreement, you work, you should get paid, but that's theft. If the worker's not getting paid, that's just theft, right? We don't need the government coming in and defining every aspect of the employer-employee relationship. We certainly don't need the government defining every aspect of education, right? But it's only important to people because they expect the government to do something. But because they expect the government to do something, people that disagree have to fight it actively, and actively engage in the process on the opposite side. So we end up fighting over all of these things, expending a tremendous amount of energy, both, financial resources, time, emotional energy, fighting each other, only because we each are fighting the government. That's it. Maybe if the government just didn't get involved in these things and everyone was able to do their own things, right? If we actually had school choice and the government was not involved, if you want to talk to your kids about trans issues in schools, you want to send your kids there, absolutely. We will not fight you. But because you want the government involved, we have to fight you every step of the way. We would rather not fight, right? We would rather every employee be able to make their own agreement with their employer, right? Without the government being involved in 90% of what it gets involved in. And that's absolutely fine. We will not fight you. But because you want the government involved, we have to fight you, right? All these single issues that everybody expects the government to do something about, government probably doesn't need to be doing much, if anything. Yeah, we still fight. And we're going to keep fighting. Because we are right.